I actually have a few episodes of this on Redbox. Um, because if you didn't know, you can buy Redbox. I have two Redbox DVDs, and they're like 10 years apart. And one of them's this, and one of them's the horror movie Intruder. And the cases are completely different and have like a bunch of different shit. Like the original Redbox is like tells you how to clean it, tells you what not to do with it, tells you how to put it in the machine, tells you to call the number if you have any questions. And then the other one's just like email us at redbox.com and download the app today. you know, definitely shows how far society has come. Um, the episodes are out of order on this for whatever reason. Because the first 7 episodes on the Redbox thing is the last episode is about Loki. Loki, um, his episode is not until like episode 20. So Disney Plus just completely mixed up the episode order somehow. I do like the fact that there is like so many characters you wouldn't expect to see in it. So many underrated characters. There's usually a different villain or a different superhero in every episode. Sometimes they do reuse characters like Abomination and MODOK are used a lot. And sometimes they'll throw Screaming Mimi or Mole Man into the mix. And maybe Claw. But he only, as far as I remember, has a voice line in his first appearance. But he shows up like 2 or 3 more times, but he doesn't have any voice lines. I really liked the actor for Pyro. He was pretty good. I wouldn't say, it was exactly like Pyro because this is more a comedic show. They make fun of shit. They also break a lot of fourth walls every now and then. It also brings a comic accuracy from the comics that I did not expect, and that was the fact that Iron Man hates magic. He's a very science-driven man, so he hates magic in the comics. They don't say why he hates it in this, but, it's very clear that he hates magic. He says it himself multiple times. And then we also get characters voiced by people you would not expect. The dude that plays Robin in Teen Titans Go in the original Teen Titans voices Quicksilver. And Starfire from Teen Titans Go and Teen Titans voices Jean Grey. The dude that was in Jurassic Park, Space Jam, and other things. There was another movie that I wanted to list, but I'm forgetting what it's called. Voices Egghead in this show, and he makes 2 appearances. He's a pretty big name actor. I did not expect him to appear. And then the final one is Mark fucking Hamill. Once again in a kid's show. Once again playing 2 different characters in one season. Because he also did that in Dan Versus, where he played an evil Santa Claus and the dentist. Well, in this show, he plays fucking Red Skull. It's still very obviously him, though he did change the accent and shit. Oh, and by the way, I know, kids show, but I had to criticize it for this thing. And that is the fact that, they very much say that Captain America was frozen in ice. They keep that origin. Instead of Captain America and Bucky being the ones in the past, it's Captain America and Nick Fury. How the fuck is Nick Fury still alive? If Captain America and Nick Fury were war buddies, how is he alive? That's so stupid. Anyways, Mark Hamill plays another character in the next episode that gets his land overtaken by Doom or whatever. He was fine. I thought he did way better as Red Skull. But, he really doesn't do much in the next episode. Then, of course, we actually get a 2-parter, but it was kind of anticlimactic for a 2-parter. We get fucking Galactus. And he doesn't do anything in the 1-parter. In the first part, I mean. He kind of shows up near the end and has a few lines, but he really doesn't do that much. And the 2-parter is where he gets most of his screen time. And, his whole thing's eating planets, but for whatever reason, he goes on to the planet. Because, they had to have a fight scene on the planet, I guess. Very weird. And yeah, that was very weird. They also actually, I forgot about this one. Punisher shows up for a very brief cameo. He is not in any of the other episodes, but he is voiced by one of the Punisher actors. I can't remember which one, but it was one of the Punisher movies, not the Netflix one, because this came out way before the Netflix show. Wolverine is of course voiced by one of my favorite voice actors, and he usually is the voice actor for Wolverine. He's the go-to voice actor, kind of like Kevin Conroy for Batman. He is voiced by Steve Blum. I wanted to make sure. I didn't want to lie, but I was pretty sure it was Steve Blum. He is always the go-to actor for Wolverine, and he always fucking kills it. So I definitely would like if he is the one that voices him in the upcoming Wolverine game. But if they get a good voice actor, I still wouldn't care. It would be a little disappointing, but I wouldn't care as long as the voice actor is good. They kind of gloss over because, once again, kid show, that Red Skull's a Nazi. But, didn't expect anything else from a kid show. Black Widow has an appearance, but she's not Black Widow, and then she never appears again, at least in this season, because there was a second season. She's played by Mystique, because Dr. Doom somehow hired Mystique. He also somehow hired Enchantress. It's a very common thing. I know Dr. Doom is really powerful in the comics. He's done some crazy shit. He one-shotted Thanos in the comics, where he just fucking rips him out. It's like rips out his whole spine after Thanos thought he could easily beat him. He's very powerful, but he just hires everybody in this show. Fucking everybody works for him, except for Dormammu. Dormammu, he has a problem with, and he gets captured by him in one episode. But other than that, he fucking hires basically all the villains. Oh, and Galactus, because they do get into a very tiny scuffle in the two-parter. But yeah, he just has every supervillain working for him that appears, because he is the big bad of the show. And season 2, I'm pretty sure the big bad was Thanos. Superhero Squad show also, even though it only got 2 seasons, got a game, which I did play when I was younger, and I do want to eventually buy it and play it again. I don't even think I ever beat it. The last thing I remember is Reptile on a spaceship. And then they also had something that I only found out about recently, Superhero Squad Online, which came out around the time the second season came out, and somehow lasted for 6 years after the show was canceled. They only shut it down in 2017. I wish I would have been able to play online, because it lasted for a long ass time for a show that only got 2 seasons. And yeah, that's really about it. It's a pretty fucking good show. It is a bit goofy, but yeah, it's really good. My favorite episode out of them all would definitely have to be the second episode, and I am a little bit biased because the focus is on Wolverine and the Wrecking Crew and Reptile, which I always liked Reptile in this show. Though, even though I am an avid comic reader, I read a lot of comics, I personally have never seen him in a comic book. Though I know he is in the comics. I might have seen him and just forgot he was in the comic. But I honestly don't think I've ever seen him in a comic, but I really like him in this show. I can't say how comic accurate he is, but he's very good. Episode 2 is by far the favorite episode in the series. Episode 7 is pretty good too, because we get a lot of villains. They fight on Asgard. There's a Loki battle. But episode 2, I absolutely love it. I don't know why. I probably could rewatch that episode a bunch of times. They also have this little gag every time in the theme song where Hulk touches a fractal and he changes into something different every episode. Like, he's Hulk but in a Wolverine costume. He's Hulk but MODOK. He's Hulk but Grey Hulk. They do that a few times, but change up the design a little bit. Kind of lazy. Speaking of lazy, I'm not 100% sure on this. I didn't look it up or anything. But I think they might have been reusing voice lines. Because there was like a lot of times where I just don't think it fit the scene. And then they just say something that was in another episode. Like Hulk says oopsie, or Wolverine says, I'm alright, I have an adamantium skeleton. Or, just stuff. In the very first episode, Abomination, he made like a weird face because Mole Man farted or whatever. And then a few episodes later, I don't remember why, but he makes a weird face again. And I'm pretty sure it's the exact same face he makes in the other episode. But I know it wasn't another fart joke. So yeah. And it's just definitely something, if you pay attention to while watching the show, you'll definitely notice. A character says something and then they say that a lot. Like, not even as like a catchphrase. Not like, for Odin for Asgard. It's just like the most random shit will be used in another episode, even if it doesn't fit. Like, there's one where someone tells like a sad story. Hulk says, Hulk loved that story, and he's crying. And then they reuse it when Reptile's telling something that's not even sad. It's so weird. But yeah, that's really about it. It's pretty enjoyable show. I got bits and pieces of it when I was a kid. Like, I went and saw it at my grandpa's. I saw it at my uncle's. But the only ones I actually owned were the first 7 episodes. So I watched those a lot. But, it was, there were still ones that I had seen. Like the War Machine one. I remembered that one pretty fondly. And I did remember the Galactus one. Not much about it, but I remembered that one. And I remembered the Black Widow storyline. There were episodes that I watched once again at my grandma's and uncle's. But the first 7 episodes definitely have the more nostalgia factor. They also use Fin Fang Foom in only 2 episodes. But it's very cool to see him in this show. I think he's a very underrated comic character. And, yeah, that is about it. Oh, actually, I do want to say, it's funnily enough, his only 2 appearances are in the very first episode and the finale. So, yeah, that's funny. To me, anyway. And yeah, that is it.